and hope that that market in which they're getting into that's going to yield some big money is not doing human rights violations, so they don't look like they're partnered with a detrimental dictator or something of that nature. So yeah, we took LeBron's words too seriously just because of the topic that it is.
Absolutely,
that's not his area.
And what I found more interesting is people were trying to compare him to Michael Jordan in this regard, for which we all know Michael Jordan has taken a back seat when it comes to social issues that could affect his money. And I think LeBron James, to his credit, although he may have gaffed, and I'm pretty sure this has a lot to do with money, as LeBron James is headed to be one of the few basketball players or athletes for that nature that is going to turn his career into being, well, turn his economic situation into being one of the few black billionaires in this country just through entertainment. And I'm pretty sure some of his issue was with his money just as well as it would have been with any other major stakeholder in the Chinese economics, as I would imagine. But there was a comparison between himself and Michael Jordan that I thought was unfair, because Michael Jordan wasn't willing to take that front and center. And LeBron James has put his earning potential at jeopardy at every step in terms of social justice issues, but those being domestic. So, Doc, do you feel like it's fair that people are jumping on LeBron James, although his social stances have been domestic, or do you think it's foul?
I think regardless, everybody has their own opinion about whatever situation. And so because LeBron's such a celebrity and such a vital asset to the culture of American culture and African American culture, whatever he says has power behind it. And so I think, when he speaks or he has some type of political view or whatever, that's just his own opinion of what he sees and his experience as a Black American, as a Black American athlete, as a rich Black American athlete. So for me, it's hard to say whether or not we should take whatever he says, to heart. That's his own personal opinion. And that's what he thinks about the situation. I think now we live in a culture where everybody, it doesn't matter what you say about anything, somebody is going to be upset at what you say. You could say, today I had a Frappuccino from Starbucks, and then somebody else is going to say, oh, you shouldn't have had all that sugar, especially, if you're famous. So, I mean, that's just our culture now. Everybody has something to say about everything. And I don't really have no opinion one way or another about what he said and why he said it. That's on him. But I do know the Chinese do not play when it comes to their business and their personal affairs and politically, economically. Anything that's going to stop their access to resources, their access to commerce, then, they really don't, they are not as lenient as the U.S. government is when it comes to actions and words spoken about outside of their country.
I agree with you,
especially for somebody who was as powerful as LeBron.
Right, I agree with you there, because they are known particularly for that. But I'll come back to you on this one, McKee, because the other issue that a lot of people took issue with, particularly with LeBron, was that when he talked about Daryl Morey and Daryl Morey's comments, and in his response, it was basically the opposite of Daryl Morey's, where it came off as he didn't care about the civil rights of anyone but those that are here domestically. And when you heard what he said, did you perceive it that way? Did it come off to you as if LeBron was only focused on the rights of human beings on American soil, or do you think that he just may have gaffed on that one and really was speaking about something deeper?
Well, in fairness to LeBron, I haven't talked to LeBron about it, so I don't know his.
That's a fair point.
I don't know. Yeah, in the sense that I respect the fact that LeBron may be well versed on geopolitics internationally. and I'm not going to prejudge to say he's not. But from what we know, when you're looking at Chinese politics right now, that's the second largest economy in the world. Absolutely. And they're quickly gaining on the United States. So there's a lot of money on the line with how the Chinese government is seen by the world, because there are deals on the table that are shifting from the West to the East every day. And so a lot of Western economists are using human rights abuses as a way to shine a negative light on the Chinese government and suggest that they're not ready for prime time to take over the United States as the number one economy. It just depends on how you see it. But it's very much in the media because there's a lot riding on it. Politicism getting into the foray. Like the NBA is not known for going into other countries and attaching itself morally to one side or the other. Nor probably should it.
Right.
Because it is not an entity that is a social or civil rights entity within itself. So, Morey kind of started this by weighing in at all as if he's not an assistant basketball commissioner. You're not with the Department of State. You're not with Amnesty International. Play your role and don't politicize the NBA. And the Western thought is that the protesters in Hong Kong have a point and that needs to be acknowledged. And I'm not saying that they don't, but I am saying that globally, people come down on different sides of how that's all playing out. Some people think that the protesters are being stoked up by people that are against China. Right. People think they're really being infringed upon. It's probably somewhere in between both of those.
Right. There's one, because I don't want to dig into LeBron in particular, because that's more of a point of reference than it is the subject matter itself. But I do want to point out Daryl Morey is a general manager for the Houston Rockets, for which they have a global ambassador that comes directly from China, which is Yao Ming. So I wouldn't go as far as to say, not saying that either of you guys did, but in terms of some of the commentary I've heard about this, I wouldn't go as far as to even agree with LeBron in the fact that Daryl Morey is not educated in the issues. But to your point, McKee, he may not be as educated as someone who does deal directly in geopolitical issues. But more so than anything, as we dig into this topic, go ahead.
But that's a deep statement. That statement kind of bespeaks that LeBron really knows a lot about the Chinese proletariat.
He probably knows more than us. Absolutely. Definitely more than me.
Yeah, right. That's a level of political acumen that's far bigger than just an athlete having the consciousness to protest. He's kind of saying that Morey is just going on news reports and doesn't really know the intricacies of the Hong Kong ethos there. And I find that, not that I'm coming down on either way, but that's very deep for LeBron to suggest that, because Morey is saying what Westerners typically say about the Hong Kong situation, right? Which is that the people, it's a travesty, but LeBron is taking a bold step by saying that.
Absolutely. And to his point, again, I agree with you there. The other area that gets missed, particularly in this particular conversation, is there was a safety issue once Daryl Morey sent out that tweet. Because again, what we do know, even though we're not well versed, I won't speak for everybody on the show. I'll speak for myself. Although I'm not well versed in geopolitical issues, what I do know is that China is a communist country, and in communist countries across the globe, they are very particular in how they handle their situations there. And you know that when you go into a communist country, and anything that comes political from it can put anyone that is not of that communist culture in jeopardy. And it could have put them in jeopardy. But in situations like that, where we can't control how the Chinese government took Daryl Morey's statements into account and basically penalized the entire NBA and American culture for the statements of one person. But I think more importantly, as we dig into this situation a little bit deeper, as we're coming up on time here over the next minute and a half, but how do you view how people in general view the statements of celebrities? Because I would imagine that if I tweeted that, the Chinese government doesn't do anything that they did, but because it was someone that was so close to the breast of China, they did. But that just goes to the power of the celebrity voice. So, Doc, real quick, how do you look at the power of celebrity voice, and should every celebrity voice be the equivalent of the voice of, say, a Dr. Martin Luther King on social issues? Even with Colin Kaepernick, he has his own set of issues with that in terms of his stance for social justice, but yet he wouldn't go and vote, and there are some issues there. So how do you see the power of that overall celebrity voice speaking to the public about issues that are, quite honestly, as they would even acknowledge, are bigger than themselves?
Well, see, I've been to China twice, and like I said before,
Oh, okay, that
the
definitely gives
Chinese
you
government,
more credence over this
right?
subject than me, definitely, yeah.
Right. The Chinese government is very particular when it comes to their commerce and their culture. Like, I mean, for me being over there, I went there this past summer and was there for 2 weeks for training. But I looked at the tags of my clothes. Everything that I had on, probably 95% of my clothes and the things that I had my devices or whatever were made in China. And so we got to be super careful, especially those who travel a lot, about what you say about the Chinese, because they have such a huge stake in the United States economy that at any point in time, we're already sensitive when it comes to tariffs and the back and forth with our president and the Chinese government. And so somebody who has power like LeBron, in which the Chinese citizens know who LeBron is. So, I remember people, they think just because I'm from America, famous people. But we have to be very careful because LeBron has influence. And those who have influence over not only the United States, but the people of the world, like, you got to be careful about what you say, on social media. Even though Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, all of that stuff is banned in China.
Right.
But then you still, there's still some outreach somewhere in which people still have access to certain comments and certain things, because the Chinese are oblivious to what's going on in the rest of the world.
Right.
And the Chinese government keeps it that way because they don't want their own citizens influenced by America, especially American culture, European culture, or any other influences outside of the traditional mindset, the Chinese traditional mindset. So at any rate, you have to be super sensitive and careful of what you say, because the laws in the United States are not the laws in China. And so as soon as you get off the plane, you have to get permission to come to China, and they need to know your whereabouts or wherever you are. So that visa application that you send to the embassy in DC or in Texas, they have to know exactly where your whereabouts are going to be and how long you're going to stay. And so, they have eyes on you, and you can't just come in their country and act American, quote unquote.
Yeah, so, and with that one, we'll leave it there.
Dangerous.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mickey.
But the thing is, if the NBA has a problem with the abuses in Hong Kong, why are you doing business with China at all? Don't accept Chinese money.
That's a good point.
But the money's all right. But the human rights abuses, you could play a more active role in showing your displeasure for that by saying